Welcome to the Blonde Runner podcast with Coach Laura Erickson, where she shares her healthy living tips as a running and triathlon coach and mother of 4.
Hi friends, it's Coach Laura here, and I wanted to talk for a minute about the importance of friendships and relationships that are really healthy for us. And so this happens to be Galentine's Day, which is the day before Valentine's Day, and I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but basically it's celebrating friendship among ladies. And I love this day because it's an opportunity I have to be grateful for my friends that are in my life, and I always send them a little something, to say have a happy day, and it gives me an opportunity to thank them for being in my life. And so friendships are very valuable and important. And I remember listening to the news recently, and it talked about how often people feel lonely. Even if you have a lot of friends, so-called friends, some people feel lonely. And it made me really think about why is that. And so I know everybody's probably felt lonely in their life, and what does lonely really mean? And so I started listening to some podcasts and reading some articles about this, and I just wanted to share some of the things I found. But I know a lot of people have a lot of friends, but what makes some friendships a lot closer than others? And all friendships take time and energy and effort. But I think what brings a relationship to a new level is your ability to be vulnerable to someone, to allow them in and to show your authentic self. And I know that this can be a challenge for a lot of people. This can be a challenge. This has been a challenge for me sometimes. But the closest people that I have in my life we share a lot of time together. We've shared common experiences. I know I've had some friends for 30 years in my life. I ran with them years and years and years ago, and we've stayed in touch over the years. And so that creates a connectedness. So that's super valuable. So if you have a lot of friends, but you feel lonely, you may consider maybe you're just not being brave enough to be vulnerable so you can create a deeper connection. And it does take a little bit of trust. Often when we have a hard time trusting others, it boils down to not being able to trust ourselves. And I think part of that self-trust comes with self-care. And even though we're talking about relationships, there is an important relationship you don't want to neglect, and that is your care of yourself. If you don't care for yourself, it's really hard to care for others. So if you want to improve your relationships in your life, you need to improve the most important one, and that's the one that you have with yourself. So just kind of think about maybe those things, maybe being authentic with yourself, maybe being real with who you are and accepting that, and maybe being a little kinder to yourself. Often we don't say the nicest things to ourselves. I know I've had to work on that. So those things I think are very helpful for you. When I was doing some of this reading on this particular topic, I ran across a group. They call themselves, I think I'm not sure if he does a podcast or something, but he basically talks about the difference between being like solo and being a single person. So he's a person that developed kind of a club for people that don't have anyone else. And I thought this was such an interesting concept because you can be single or solo and still be happy. And I think why is that, right? You don't necessarily have to have that one person, that significant other, but you still have to have connections with a lot of other people that are significant, good relationships. And I don't know if you guys watched I know there's a new Avatar movie out, and I really like that movie. And what I really like about it, I like that concept of, when they were saying to each other, I see you. And I think that's what we want in a relationship. But often we're tied up in how we're perceived, that it stops us, it creates fear, and it doesn't allow us to share about us. And it doesn't allow us to also listen to what people are sharing for us. So I guess I just wanted to challenge you that way. Just sometimes you're just waiting for everybody to hear your story, or are you allowing their story to reach and touch you and be in a way that you can find a way to support other people around you? I think oftentimes we do kind of tend to, we're in a society right now where it's really easy to compare. And we're looking at comparing ourselves, and we often compare our weaknesses to other people's strengths. And so there is a way that if you find yourself not connected or not finding those really close relationships, that you can turn those negative emotions into positive. Most people love to be around positive people. So if you tend to be a little more negative, then that may be something that you have to look for, making some changes there. Usually the friends that I have, we are laughing. New friends that I'm making, we find things to laugh about. And that creates more of an immediate connection. Because I think people do strive to be around people that build them up. You want to create those positive emotions with creating new friendships, that foundation of positivity, and then making that a consistent efforts. If you want to have friendships, you have to make time for them. You have to put energy into them, and the energy I've found that I've put into relationships, I'm getting back. And red flag, if you're putting things into a relationship and you're not getting that back or reciprocated, then that's probably not a relationship for you. And there are, what I like to say is frenemies out there. People that act like your friend, but they don't really have your back. And so that is something to consider when you're making friendships. And I know I've been in relationships that are toxic. And if you've ever been in a toxic relationship, you realize that you probably need to get out of that situation. It's not very healthy for you. You need to find friends that really are happy for your successes. I find that those friends that I really seem to enjoy are those that just have a grateful heart, because there's plenty of shine to go around. You don't need to, I'm sure jealousy, envy, and all those things can enter relationships, but generally speaking, there's plenty of shine to go around. You can be happy for other people. It's actually not really that difficult. If you feel like their shine is taking away from your shine, that might be difficult. But there really is plenty of shine to go around, and maybe there's a way to reframe it. So you are really, truly happy for their successes, and you're able to support them, and saying supportive words or kindness or encouragement. And often, again, do the things that you would want done to you, to them. I think that really helps. But if you can find a way to have gratitude yourself, you tend to attract people that have a lot of gratitude or joy or happiness, those kind of things. And so it really does help to put those things out there. All right. Nurturing friendships throughout our life is essential to our well-being. And there is sort of a science behind like this power of friendship and connectedness. I don't know if you like to watch, I like to watch some of these survival shows, and one of them is called Alone. And I know you've heard me talk about this before, but one of the reasons many of them quit is this being in by themselves and not having that interaction and connectedness. Whether we like it or not, we do get feedback from our surroundings and other people that help guide us in our life, that help us, it's positive, having positive reinforcement of our own thoughts to us is a very important thing. We're not meant to be alone here. And so there is kind of an energy we get and gain from others and that connectedness. So if you're feeling like you're not having those connections, again, work on that. That gratitude helps being positive and having that vulnerability, but not oversharing. I mean, take time to, of course, make sure you're in a safe space. And that's what I think good friendships create, is a safe space. And obviously trust and those kind of things are built in a good friendship. So this is another article I found. I wanted to read a few things that I found. The simple action of sharing thoughts, emotions, and activities with others reinforces positive feelings and makes good memories easier to remember. Sharing also reveals the authenticity in us, allowing us to know ourselves better and to find insights in our friends' point of view. There are also health benefits involved. Some studies found that seniors with a large number of network seniors, this could be anyone else as well, our friendships are more likely to outlive those without social support. So it is something that is incredibly valuable. And it's interesting. I'm fairly outgoing, but I am sort of an introvert in some regards. And I know a lot of people are introverts, and I have kids that are introverts, and but they have a few very close friendships. They don't have a million friends. They have a few close relationships. Those are hard to come by sometimes, but there is an amount of vulnerability they've had. And introverted people, maybe it's hard to get to meet other people, but it's not really about the number of friends you have that make you feel connected and satisfied in those relationships. It's often the quality, your ability to share and make that connection and find commonality, and then create experiences together. So again, it's spending some of that time together, sharing your thoughts, sharing your emotions. And I find that people that don't have a lot of friends often are the people that are willing to share. You do have to become vulnerable and being willing to share. If you're just waiting for everyone to come to you to find friends, that's just not really how it works. You have to go out and you have to set your sails and figure out what you need to do to make those friendships. And usually it comes from, my children, and in my life, my friends come from, usually they're very active friends. Most of my friends are athletes and things, because that's what I enjoy doing. And so if you're maybe don't have quite as many hobbies, then maybe creating new hobbies, or definitely finding those people that you've already bumped into your life, and being, distinctly sharing things and nurturing that relationship. It's just like a plant. You can't neglect it and expect it to live. You have to put it in good soil, and you have to water it, and you have to make sure it gets the sunshine it needs. And that's the same kind of thing. But isolation is certainly not healthy, and so definitely important to put that time into it. So, and it does take ongoing, attention. But there can be an imbalance. I've had relationships where it's maybe too time consuming and it's taking too much energy. And so it is really important to set boundaries for any kind of relationship, so you can make sure that it's healthy for you. It's not growing into an unhealthy situation, that it can still fulfill the purpose of the relationship, but not get skewed, taking too much time away, just kind of creating that balance. I always like to say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I have different friends that fill me in different ways. Some of them are very, like I said, active. Others maybe not quite as active, but they're super engaging to talk to. Like, they're very, they're really interested in science, or they love to read, and we just share ideas about different mental things that help people. Or I like to life coach, of course, and those kind of things are really fun to talk about. What makes people tick, and why are people this way or that way? And I have certain friends that I talk to about different things. So make sure whatever gets you excited about life, make sure you have friends in all those areas. I think that's really helpful. So, if you have one friend that maybe I spend a lot more time with some friends than other friends. It just depends on what they bring and what I bring to them. So making sure it's a two-way street, and that you're both. I always love to be with relationships that are, of course, building me up and making me feel good. And I leave whatever engagement I had with them, and I'm grateful for that time. And if you find that you have some friendships that seem to be taking a lot out of you, I would consider spending less time with that person. And so, again, friendships can be healthy and they can also be unhealthy. So, making sure that you're being smart, setting those boundaries, it's really good. So just want to encourage you to help and nurture those good relationships. And I hope everyone has a great Galentine's Day and Valentine's Day as well. Of course, that romantic relationship is a different, more intimate relationship, and that's really important too. But be able to nurture all those great relationships in your life, and if you don't have them, create them. Just go set your sails. Anyway, until next time, live well. Thank you again for listening in to the podcast. I wanted to encourage you to like and subscribe, and please share this so others are learning about it so we can continue growing it. You can also find me on Instagram at The Blonde Runner, and that's BLONDE with an E on there. And you can also find me on Instagram at Coach Laura Erickson, and that's LORAERICKSON. And thanks again for listening in, and until next time, live well.